today's guest found himself $85,000 0 cents in credit card debt after a book deal collapsed. But instead of declaring bankruptcy, he challenged the system. Tommy Kilpatrick, an author and former controller with a background in accounting, began questioning whether the banks had ever actually loaned him anything. With no signed promissory note and no invoice for goods or services, he argued there was no true debt. So what did he do? He sued 3 major banks in federal court by himself. The cases were dismissed, but here's the twist. The debt vanished. No 1099-C, no negative credit report entries, and no further collections. Now, Tommy shares how you might be able to challenge bank-issued alleged credit card debt with a simple letter and possibly walk away debt-free in just 45 days. This conversation may change the way you see your finances. Please welcome Tommy Kilpatrick. Hey, how's it going, Tommy?
Thank you very much.
So, you've got an interesting story, and we're gonna dive into it. Let's start out with talking about the book. What was the book that you were writing, and how the book deal came about?
Oh, sure. It's about reflexology, and I had been a reflexologist, so I was writing a book, and it was primarily to the beauty field. And it just became so popular that I was at trade shows, I was a guest speaker, so I got noticed by a infomercial company, and they offered me a deal. And so it was great. I flew back to Portland, Maine. I was living in Southern California at the time, and we did a little test marketing, and they said it was a fantastic idea. So what they did is they booked me on radio shows for about 6 months, but I needed to be available 24/7, sometimes at 3 o'clock in the morning, sometimes at noon. So I lived on my credit cards because I was promised about $100,000 a month. So once I saw the card rate going up, I knew it was going to be easily paid for. But then one of the talents got in trouble with the FTC, and they came down and they canceled our contract. So I got stuck with $85,000 of credit card debt.
Wow. I can't even imagine that big of a number. I mean, and I'm sure we're going to get into it, but it's no secret. Everybody has seen the memes and the discussions about how, if all the credit cards in the company right now said we want our money paid now, it's literally more than there is actual money to pay it. There's just not enough currency to cover all the digital debt that's out there. So let's talk a little bit about what you learned from this. How is it that the banking system can loan money that they technically don't have? Obviously, the money comes from they get their loans through the reserve or from their customers. So how is it that we can physically actually send the money to each other and use the money like it's real when it's not?
Yes, it's kind of go back a little bit of the history. And what happened is if you look at an inflation rate, just type it up and look on 1776 to present, the inflation rate, and you'll see that it's flat, exactly flat. Sometimes going up for wars, but then going down, but basically it was flat until about 1933. And I believe the Federal Reserve caused the depression by raising the interest rate. They choked off the market and caused it because what was the end result was a bank holiday, confiscation of banks going under. And so what happened is that the Federal Reserve law was passed in 1913, but it took them about 20 years to consolidate their power. And that's what they did is then they instituted the fractional banking system. And that's what causes the inflation. So when you read the book, Modern Money Mechanics, which was required reading in my banking class in college, it says right there on page 6, what banks do, and it makes a joke right before the sentence is obviously we don't have the money from the depositors. So right away, they discount what you just said. is everybody thinks the bank takes the depositor's money and gives it to a loan. They don't do that. Okay. And that's a show link that you can check out. So what they do is they have you sign a promissory note first. Then they write numbers into your checking account, your free checking account. Okay. And that's how they create fiat money. And that's the cause of inflation. So that's how they create it is you sign that you're going to pay them back first. And then they arbitrarily write any number they want into an account. And now you have the available currency, you have the money, and now you spend it. Without taking that same amount of money out of the economy, it now creates inflation.
That makes sense. Yeah, it definitely makes sense. About because it'd be the same thing if somebody said, "Oh, okay, I'm gonna give you a loan. Let me hit print," and printed the money out. It'd be the same example. They're just now doing it without actually having the money. Now, how does that tie in? Because the banks have to have their books balanced, right? They can't be upside down. In other words, um, including their loans and so forth. How does that work when it's money they technically don't have anyways?
Yes, it's kind of like a shell game in one sense. They're playing a game with you. But yes, they are regulated. But on the other side, it's the criminals that are doing the regulating.
Yeah.
So this whole thing comes about what they're doing is charging you on average $23.04. I typed that about 2 months ago and I said, what's the average cardholder pay in the fees? And it's about $23.04. So if a bank has 1 million cardholders, they're bringing in $23 million a month for a
Wow.
free checking account. And we'll get into that. But there's no way that they're going to stop this because I did my calculations. It's about 1/4 of their profits. So 1/4 of the bank's profits is made on an illegal, totally fraudulent concept of what they're doing to you because they're making you pay for a free checking account.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, and you haven't even gotten into yet all the additional fees that I mean, Bank of America is the king of fees. I took them a check that was wrote to me. I didn't have an account with them, and they charged me $10 to cash their check. And the lady, I got mad, and the lady looked at me and said, "Well, we got to make our money too." And I said, "You mean the billions of dollars the federal government gave you wasn't it enough? You need to gouge me for 10 more dollars?" She didn't find it as funny as I did, um, but it is true. It's you know that is their check that they handed out, and they're going to charge me to cash their check from their customer who paid a fee to have that bank account. Man, I'm in the
I
wrong.
just I was just in a Philippine bank, and I'm not able to get a bank account because I'm a tourist, technically. So I've been here 7 months, but once I shift it over to a permanent resident, then I can open a bank account. But I looked there, and they charge you for closing an account. They charge you $5 for closing an account. So that might be coming to you too. So you go to the bank, say, I want my money back. Yes, but you can only have it if we take $5 out of it. So
Well,
yeah.
well, that explains why my credit union holds $5. Uh, you can't, that balance doesn't include your actual balance. It's just money that's on hold. They know they're not going to give it back. They've already spent it. So, how did you discover? Um, I mean, obviously, when you were going through the situation, I can't imagine that I would have been able to see past the numbers, let alone do the research on what is going on. How did you do it?
I have a unique background as my dad is a CPA. So when I was growing up, I have the IRS as part of my DNA from a CPA. So we had many, many conversations about business. I would work with him. I would go to some of his clients, which was very fun because one had saltwater taffy. So we would go there once a year and I'd be able to walk back with a 5 pound box of taffy that would take the whole family to eat for like about a week. So it was very unique times for me because of that. And I also was a very good at mathematics. I excelled at math, and so went to college to be a CPA, and just kind of found it really wasn't me. It wasn't my life. I was going for the wrong reason, and I was good at it, and I excelled very quickly through the courses. Then we had a deaf guy. He came into the accounting tutoring room, and I was talking to the interpreter. She would sign to him, but he lost his hearing at 4, so he could talk to me. And I went, wow, if I would just learn sign language, I could bypass the interpreter. So I learned sign language at the community college while I was going to Chico State, and he actually lived across the street. So we would walk to college together, as sometimes we had the same class time, and we'd walk together, and he'd be signing and talking, and I'd be signing and talking. So it was very good. So I changed my major to social work, but then I found out I was not really a social worker, so I walked away. But my first job was as an accountant for a company in San Francisco called Dream Jeans. My two gay guys that were in part of Levi Strauss that branched out and had their own company. So they would fly to Paris, and they would be at the latest fashions of denim jeans, and they would buy that expensive $200, $500 pair of pants. They'd bring it back, they'd unstitch it and make a form, a pattern, and then the sweatshops there in San Francisco would make these pants. So we had the Paris design pants in about a week or two in the stores all across the country. So that's kind of the knockoff thing. But
Yeah.
why I say all that is that the CPA came to me and pointed a finger right in my face and was kind of angry to impress upon me that he said, if you pay from a statement, I'm going to fire you. And he was very angry. And that lasts in your head when you're a brand new hire and you got the boss telling you that he's going to fire you, and with anger and vengeance in vengeance in his voice, that sticks. So that has always been with me. So I have a unique experience that you never pay from an invoice, because he said you only pay from you don't pay from a statement. You only pay from an invoice, and it has to be approved by the department head. So you look at that invoice. If there's no department head saying it's okay to pay, you don't pay it. Put it over the side. And we don't trust the statement because we could have made a payment last week and it's in the mail.
Yep.
So a statement is not that. It's just an action of saying something. So it's not true.
Okay.
Then another aspect of it is I was married, and my father-in-law was a judge and an attorney. So I had a lot of law conversations in the hot tub. We would come back, he'd tell me the funny stories in court, how these people were bringing cockroaches in. I don't have to pay rent because the place is full of cockroaches. And he says, well, does that have a name on it? How can I tell it came from your apartment? So he made a lot of fun of people as a judge. But so we had long conversations, and then it was going to the law library. I could have been an attorney in my previous life, but I just didn't like debate. So I would hang out at the law library, and I'd talk to the. They really can't give you law advice. They're very strict about that. But once you get to know them, then they kind of go, well, if you look over here, that's fine. Here's a better argument. So I got some good advice from the people in the law library, and that's where I had my foundation. So it was from this crisis that I had of $85,000 facing lawsuits and how am I going to pay for it, all that kind of stuff. And that's when I woke up one morning and went, wait a second, the bank doesn't have an invoice. And I remember, see, I have a memory. I remember reading that Modern Money Mechanics that said that the banks have a promissory note first, then they write numbers into your free checking account. And I went, I never signed a promissory note. And if you think about it, if you just stop and think, would the shareholders want the bank to loan money to people who can't pay it back? Do they want to loan money to people who don't promise to pay it back? How can you run a business by giving people money and expecting them to pay it back when they don't have a promise? So this is the foundation of the fraud that I uncovered, that I didn't realize it until I got into it, and then the federal lawsuit, and then what happened with the judge threw my case out. But then when I saw my credit report and they were gone, and I got no 1099-C, then I knew I was on the right path. So that's a little bit of my background of how I kind of figured this out.
Okay. So most credit cards, I mean, I'm sitting here trying to think to I don't, other than filling out the application, I don't remember seeing a promissory note or anything specific, other than you agree to the interest rate and we're going to gouge you. But so obviously, I would think that they would know this. So is there another angle of how this works?
Well, they actually do know the angle because they're the criminal. So
Yeah.
they are committing a bank fraud on you. So that's the thing is what they do is they have to get you as a customer. And how they get you as a customer is they got to give you something, right? Back in the old days, they gave away a toaster or a wall clock. But there's one time in the newspaper it said, come into our bank, deposit $25, and in 90 days we will match it. So I went, fantastic. I took my $25, put it into the bank. I waited 91 days, went into the bank, and I took out $50 and closed the account. Now I got a question for you. Did I rip off the bank?
No, I don't think so.
No. Right. Did I steal from the bank?
No,
What I did, was that immoral?
no.
No, they said, come in, do the deal, which I followed their parameters, their terms and conditions, and then I fulfilled it and I left with my money. So it was my money, right?
Yep.
My $50. Right. So it's the same thing as when they give you a credit card. Now notice what you said. You filled out an application. Okay, let's go through that route. If you fill out an application and you're denied, do you still get the loan?
No.
No, you don't get the loan. You were denied. Go away. You don't qualify. But if you do qualify for the loan, then you come into the bank and you fill out loan documents. Remember that?
Yep.
All those pages of disclosure. They have to disclose to you everything. You have to prove that you can pay this money back by having some kind of proof of income. Am I
Yep.
right?
Yep.
You got to show them your 1099, your pay stubs, your annuity, your bank accounts, other places. You put up something, and that's the other thing too is you got to put up collateral like the house or the car. And if you go for a personal loan, you can put your yacht up for collateral because if you don't pay, they take it away from you legally, sell it, and if it's short, well, that's the cost of doing business. Too bad for you. If they make more than what was loaned, they are obligated to give you back the difference. They
Right.
don't get to take your $1 million yacht and pay a $10,000 debt off and keep the money. That's not right. So what they do is they get you in as a customer, and by giving you a credit card. Oh, back to the other thing too. You also have to have a credit report to show you have a history of payment, and your credit score determines your interest rate. But the last thing you sign is a promissory note. You have to promise to pay it back. That never happened with a credit card. So when you say debt, you've got a debt. When you go into court and you say I have credit card debt, you've got the debt. You can't argue. So we watch television and we see a bank robber and we always say alleged. Even though his wallet fell on the ground, you pick it up, you show the camera, here's his name, here's his ID. They always have to say alleged. So I'm asking your audience not to believe anything I have to say today. Check out the show notes. I have 3 links there for you to check it out yourself. But send this podcast to your CPA or anyone who's had one class of accounting. Okay. And they're going to tell you I'm 100% accurate. This is not some wacky sovereign bills of exchange or Title 15. I hear all this crazy stuff. This is just sound accounting principles that we work on. So this is the way business works. So what they do is they gave you a credit card. They called it a credit card, but it's not. It's a gift card. Okay. So what did you do with your gift card? Give me an example of what you would have done with a $500 gift card. It comes in the mail. You didn't even ask for it sometimes. They just send it to you. And so what did you buy? What was something expensive that you'd want to buy for 500 bucks?
A new mic because this one's
A new
starting.
microphone.
Yep.
Great. So you go online or you go to the electronics store and you buy it. You use your gift card. As you're walking out with your brand new microphone, $500 golden mic, the guy at the door says, "Wait a second, sir, did you pay for that?" And you show them a receipt, right?
Yep.
Now, is that store going to send you a statement at the end of the month about the outstanding unpaid invoice?
No.
No, they were paid. Who paid them?
The bank.
The bank.
Yeah.
Now, that night or the next day, that store was paid. So you have a paid receipt. They believed you. You don't have to any pay them a penny ever. Right. So then how did the bank pay the store? That comes from their advertising budget. This is a scheme to get you to be a customer because they know they make $23.04 on average of anybody who's a card member. So if a bank has 1 million cardholders, they're bringing in 23 million a month, every month. So they front you 500 as a gift disguised as a credit card. And so what do you do as a good person? You think it's a bill, you write a $500 check out and you mail it to the bank. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now this is the first time the bank has ever received your money. Am I right?
That is true.
That's true. The first time they've ever seen your money, that money goes into a checking account, but it's a loan. That's the very first link. It's from a legal website, and it says, it mocks it. It says, you don't make a deposit. What you're doing is you are loaning money to the bank. Banks are only about loans. If you have no money and you go into a bank, you want to come out with money, that's called a loan. But if you take money to the bank and leave it there, that's considered a loan to the bank, right?
Yep.
So
Okay.
the bank, you loan the money to the bank for $500 in your free checking account that just doesn't give you any checks. So in the beginning, it was a gift card to get you suckered into sending the bank money. You sent them money. It now turns into a debit card. So that $500 now becomes your money because it's your money. You gave the bank, it's in your checking account. And now you have a debit card. And if you spend that debit card down, let's say down to zero the next month, the bank wants you to put $500 back up to your account again. And if you don't, they're going to charge you interest, late fees, transfer fees, all kinds of fees and fees and fees. And you just go along and accept it. Well, you've been lied to, indoctrinated, and brainwashed. I'm telling your audience, you've been brainwashed. Okay. A lie, we know what a lie is, but when they say it over and over again, it's called indoctrination. But when you don't question it, that's brainwash. So I'm trying to unbrainwash your audience by just asking one word to add it to the whole scenario. Here's alleged. It's a bank issued alleged credit card. So there's a little bit of the story.
Wow. I never thought of it that way. And man, I hate to say it, but that is genius. You know,
Follow the money. We've
yeah.
always heard that.
Yep.
Follow the money. So you were given, and we always say that. We don't say we bought a credit card. We don't say we went in and got a loan and here's my credit card. We always say gave. So the bank gave me this credit card, which is a gift. So you used it and now you gave money. That's the proper thing. Follow the money. I'm not that smart. Okay. I'm not super intelligent. I'm just a guy who's good at math and has a memory and has some background of accounting. Someone else has had to figure this out. All
Yeah.
right. This is not rocket science. It's just anybody who's in business knows you can't pay from a statement. You get a checking account statement every month. Is that a bill?
Nope.
No, it's not a bill. It shows your beginning balance, your deposits, the checks you wrote, the debit card, the debits you've done in your account, and fees and things you had authorized to be taken out, and you have a ending balance. It's not a bill,
Yep.
but that's where the bank tricks you to think that that credit card, the bank issued credit card, is a debt or is a loan or is that somehow you have to pay interest. And that's how they fool you to get you to pay. Once you have that money in, it's your own money. That's why there's $1.3 trillion of debt. It's not a debt. It's a whole big lie. It's what the bank wants you to take out of your pocket and put it into their bank. 1.3 trillion out of your pocket because you bought stuff. So in your checking account, if you have $500 in it and you buy something for $495 and you don't want to put more money in, you don't have to. But not for this one. They force you because of the threat of the interest, all the late fees, all the transfer fees, all that kind of stuff. So that's the bottom line of what they're doing to you.
And on top of that, the problems with your credit report that they're going to do. So really you are being held hostage.
Yeah, because you can't get a job, you can't get an apartment. There's all kinds of things that people look at that credit report.
Yeah.
And as you said, Bank of America is notorious about putting people on check systems. They purposely they don't put the deposits first. You would think, hey, I made a deposit today. No, they do all your checks first. Oh, you're now negative. We put a fee onto you, $35 because you went under. But I made a deposit. No, we do deposits after that. So they are notorious about putting people on check system. And what eventually happened is a friend of mine gave me a charity that was inactive. I turned it into a credit repair kind of a charity. And a lot of people had credit card debt. So I would write a letter to the bank, tell them it's not a debt, and it was no problem. So that's what I found a lot of people that were on check system. And all I do is write a letter to check system, challenge it, and they backed off. And now the person could get a checking account again. So I helped a lot of people doing that.
Wow. So I am just astonished. I have a list of questions that I don't even know what to say. It's
Well, here you go. Why hasn't someone else figured this out? Okay. The only explanation I can figure out is a non-disclosure agreement. Because the little stuff, they just from my experience of about 1,000 people, most of the banks would always just delete it off and not even bother with us because it would be so expensive to go through it.
yeah.
But the ones that had higher amounts, they push back. So this is where they're so I'm kind of lost the train of thought, but so I don't know where I was. Help
You
me out.
you
You're
were
excited. I'm excited about what you're saying there.
you were saying that they the ones that you owe more to, they will go after you. The rest of them just kind of wash it off. But I mean, technically, what are they washing off? It's a
Right.
advertisement write off. They're going to get the tax write off for the original whatever they gave you. And then if you had paid it back one time, if you paid off all that credit card one time, at that point now, they're no longer loaning you anything out of their pocket. They're loaning you your own money.
See, if you use their words, law is language, language is law,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to lose. You're going to get sunk. You can't use their words. You can't use the words of maxing out the credit card, credit limit. These are all terms of a loan. So once you start using their words, you lose. So
Yeah.
if you go into the court and say, I have a credit card debt, you've got a debt. There's nothing you can get out of it. But by using the word alleged, now we're forcing the bank to actually prove that there's a loan, that there was actually a debt or an invoice. So without that invoice, without that promissory note, and that's the thing too, is you agree by using the card to the terms and conditions. But fraud undoes all contracts. So you do not have a contractual agreement with the bank. So so there are true there are true credit cards. Okay, let's cover that for a second. I'm not saying anybody can get out of debt by this. It's not. There are true credit cards. Let's say you need tires for your car. So you go into a tire store and they put their tires on your car. They pay the mechanic to put those tires on, balance it and everything. And you say, I don't have the money today. We'll say, oh, why don't you apply for an in-store credit card and see if you're approved? Hey, you are fantastic. So you drive away without paying, right? You get a statement at the end of the month, and that is a true statement. There's an outstanding unpaid invoice that you have to pay for. And this is not a scheme to get out of true debt. This is not some way to shirk your responsibility. You have responsibilities. You have to pay that. So the bank does not have an invoice. Think about this. Did you go into the bank and buy tires?
Nope.
Did you have them do a service for you?
Nope.
Do they have an invoice? If there's no invoice, there is no debt. Now, you say there's a loan. Okay, where's the promise to pay back? Oh, by using terms and conditions. But that's because the fraud undoes all contracts. So I do not have a contractual agreement with you, and there never was a loan. Because to have a loan, they have to verify that you have income. They have to have something collateral. They have to have all this stuff. So that is not a loan. Because if they did say it's a loan, then they're going to have somebody inside the bank perjure themselves in court. And that's where they don't do this. They don't want this exposed. And that's my idea, is that there's a non-disclosure. So people who have 100,000, 700,000. I talked to one guy on the phone, he had $750,000 of bank issued alleged credit card debt. And I said, how'd you do that? Well, I got 30 cards at 25,000 each, so 750,000. I use it for my business. And I said, well, I can work with it. And it's a simple way of eliminating it. Is it, no, it sounds too wacky. I'll just do a bankruptcy. So they're already in their mindset for a bankruptcy, then fine. I can't help you. But for this, bank issued alleged credit card debt, it's not a debt. It's your own money. All you have to do is ask it to be returned. So there's a funny thing. And my fourth link, there's a guy in that is on YouTube, says, I made $361. What you do is you find these banks that will match your deposit to get you as a customer, okay? And then fulfill their agreement and then take the money out. So this is no different than them sending you a $500 credit card or giving you a line of credit of $500,000. It's your gift. So before you write a letter to close your free checking account, you have to remove your money. Remember, we have to use our words. If you say, I got to max out the card, then it sounds like you're doing a criminal act. But what you need to do first is remove that money. So for most of my clients, I find them money. I find them 5,000, 10,000, 100,000 if they've got a huge line of credit. And I explain to them, it's your money. Take it out now. Because when you have a normal checking account, you go and say, I want to close my account. Oh, so sorry to see you leave. Here's your money. And they make it into a zero. Not with this credit card. No, they confiscate your money. So they're a bunch of thieves. They're stealing your money from you. So that's what I do. I can help people not only get out of what they think is debt, but the bank issued credit card debt, alleged. I can get them out of that and find them money too. Then I say, you want to share some of that? Then they might want to, and that's fine. But my whole promise of where this money's going is I'm here in the Philippines and I teach farmers how to build dome houses with bamboo. I'm teaching them how to do vertical gardening so they don't have to bend over like they've been doing for 10,000 years with hydroponics, aquaponics, and things like that. And I'm opening up free medical clinics. And so I'm giving back to the community what they've done so much. And they've been so nice and friendly to me. So it's the least I can do for them. So I'm retired. I've got a pension. I don't need this. But to make some money to do what I want to do here in the Philippines, that's why I wrote the book.
I got you. So let's talk about the court case, right? So you I'm assuming you sued the banks, right? Or the credit card holders. And did it ever even actually make it to a judge, or was it thrown out before you even got there?
Right. So when I had this $85,000 credit card debt, I woke up one morning, but I also had came across a YouTuber who said it's really easy to go to federal court. The judges are very sympathetic to you. You're pro se, and they really try to help you out. I went, okay, I did. So I filed 3 federal lawsuits in Los Angeles, and things were going fine. We had some deposition dates set, and also the discovery was to be done very soon. And that's when you demand for like the invoice. And I wanted to have an affidavit of debt. I wanted someone inside the bank to swear out that there is a debt and they have physical evidence of that. And that would be through an affidavit of debt. And all of a sudden, the judge called me into court. And I went, this is not typical. What happens with the judge is he says, how you doing? When are we going to set this for trial? Those kind of questions. But he called me in and I was there by myself. And he said, Mr. Kilpatrick, do you have a credit card? Well, no, it actually starts off as a gift card. A gift card? Are you an idiot? Pull your card out. So I pull my card out of my wallet. What's it say on there? Credit card. So you're telling me you don't have a credit card? Did you make any charges on that card? Well, not really. It's my own money. Your own money. Did you get a statement at the end of the month? Yes. And it said to pay this amount, right? Yes. What can I say? And he said, get out of here. So he dismissed all three cases all at once. So I walked out going, here I am, back to being sued, waiting for it. And I happened to look at my credit report and it showed no cards. Those three banks were gone. And I never received a 1099-C. Now that's really important because when you take a loan out for $100,000 and you don't pay the bank, you got $100,000. The bank notifies the IRS through a 1099-C.
Yep.
So then they can take a tax deduction of $100,000.
Yep.
So I know an attorney in San Diego who does this class action lawsuit against the banks about every 2 years per bank, and he does it every quarter. So he is raking in $85,000. I looked at the federal filings, and when he completed the deal, it said right there the banks agreed to pay him $85,000 for his legal fees. And what all those people got, about 20 to 100 people he'd pull together every 3 months to file a lawsuit against one bank. They all got negative uh, credit ratings, and they also got 1099-Cs. So the bank was able to deduct money off their taxes. They actually made money by giving this attorney 85,000 every quarter. And I went to him. I showed him how he could do this and how his clients wouldn't have negative reporting and they wouldn't have to pay taxes. All these people had to pay income taxes on their own money.
Yep.
This is crazy. So, but he wouldn't listen to me. He had his, attorneys know everything. So I couldn't budge him to come over to my side and help me out by being an attorney. And that's where every attorney has screwed me over. I'm telling you, you can't go to an attorney and have them do this for you. Well, what happens is I had an expert CP as witness, and most of my clients would do it themselves, so they didn't have any problem going into court because I would be there with them. And then we practiced, and they had the expert witness say that there is no credit card debt, and the other side couldn't say anything, so it was just we wouldn't even get to that point. Once the other side saw I had the expert witness, they just said, "What's monkey deal?" And all we wanted was click off the credit report. And they went, "That's all, yeah." And I had a judge one time going, what is going on here? He's mumbling under his breath. What do these people have on the bank? He couldn't figure it out because every time it's automatic. These people get sued, you pay, and it's always a deal. It's not the other way around. Well, we agreed to remove it off the credit report if they dismiss the case. So we dismissed the case and they took it off the client's credit report. So it's what's going on in a criminal of these banks. If they're a criminal, they can't be exposed. That's why they're having you sign a non-disclosure. That's why no one knows about this. I'm not the smartest guy. I keep telling you. I'm just an accountant who came across this fraud that's going on. And why isn't everybody doing this? They don't know.
Yeah.
If this was actually a court case where it went into the judge making a decision, everybody would look at it, everybody could see it, and they would do it too. But they keep it off the books, they keep it off the record. So that's why I think that judge brought me in because he knew what my pleading was. I explained all of the criminality of the bank, and the bank was facing a deposition. They didn't want that. So they told the judge probably to call me in and dismiss the case. And the judges are corrupt, so you're looking for something pure, keep looking.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not going to find it on that side of the world. That is for sure. I learned that with my son. So yeah, it is a without a doubt a corrupt system. And I used to think that all the credit reports were for was actually just for a reason to justify a number that why they're gonna raise this interest rate to be so high, right? And I didn't think about that until one time my daughter, she had a credit score of like 800, and I was like, holy crap, she had done really well. Yeah. And I'm with her helping her buy a car, and I had her go through USAA because I'm a veteran. I believed USAA is there for the veterans, right? And They came back with this interest rate of like 32%, or I mean, it was just some ridiculous number. And I looked at the guy, and the guy's like, he's like, well, if you want to go through us, we can get you a lot better deal than that. And even theirs came back in the upper 18s, I think it was. And I just looked at him. I was in shock. And he's like, well, it's probably because of she doesn't have a lot of credit history. And I'm like, that number is the number that's supposed to be in that deciding factor. Your number is based off of credit history, payments, amount of debt, all that stuff. And she ended up getting a car and had a basically a mortgage. But I just felt like it was a scam, But now I'm listening to what you're saying, and it almost seems like that it has nothing to do with the money they're making off of charging you more interest. It's about a way to hold you to that debt that's not a debt. It's a way for them to hold you to pay back your money, because if you don't, now it's going to affect a house that you're trying to get, a rent, your utilities, your car insurance, your home insurance. The whole system is tied to that.
And the whole system is set up to the advantage of the banks.
Yep.
So the banks want you to have errors. And every 2 years, the credit reporting agencies have to go in front of Congress. And they have admitted they have so many errors that they don't have the money to fix them. They don't want to fix the errors. And that's all I had to do was write a letter to the bank, to the credit reporting agency, challenging these things. And they couldn't provide the evidence, so they had to remove it. So you can ask me a question. Hey, Tom, do you have a credit card? Yes, I do. And you know about the whole scam? Yes, I do. So here's the funny part. I had been off grid for about 10 years. About 12 years ago, the wife said, get out and take the dog with you. And I became homeless on purpose. And I took a vow of poverty. So I wanted to feel what it like to be poor. And I was recently at a friend here in the Philippines to a house, and they were kind of apologizing for the house. And I said, I have lived in worse. This is beautiful. You have a roof. You're not wet. So they were very pleased with my attitude of saying, you have a beautiful home. I just appreciate what you have here. I have lived worse than this. So that being said, I didn't have a credit score and I didn't have a credit report. It was blank. Okay. So I thought I was living on a farm. I thought I was going to die there. So just bury me in a bag. I didn't care. But shift happens, and make sure you pronounce the F. So shift happens, and I found myself on the outside. I didn't have an ID. It took me about a year to get through the whole process. I had to take a driving test to get a driver's license. I had done that since I was 16. So I finally got a passport, and I decided I better have a credit card. So I applied to Capital One, right? And that's the word, they gave me a $500 credit card, but I had no score and no credit report, nothing, blank. So how did they do that? I was a previous customer. They had me in their system. They called me right up. They remember my old address. Well, I'm at a new address. They fixed that. But that's one of the banks I sued for the alleged 35,000 of the 85. So they they had me as a good customer. So so
Yep.
I had to score. And then once I got the card, I got like a 550. And then because I have no history, and then I went to the credit union and I got a loan. So paying that automatically out of my check. So I don't have to worry about ever being late. And that boosted me up to about 650. And then by consistently using the credit card, see, they got me saying it too, but I'm using the bank issued alleged credit card every month, 10%, raise my score. So right now I'm at a 704. So it'd be nice to get to an 800 somehow, some way. I might do that. But yes, I know it's a scam. I know it's my money. Am I going to take it out? No, I'm just playing it quiet. So yeah,
Yeah.
So there you go. There's a funny story about getting issued a credit card from a bank you sued in federal court.
Well, and I get that. It does make sense. I mean, there's a give and take here at that point. You know, you have to determine, do I want credit so that I can get approved for a house because it's wet outside, and or do I just want to continue to not be a part of that system? You know, and it is really funny because I think that's more of an issue now. People look at this a lot more now than they did back when the government was saying, you're going to give us your gold and we're going to give you this piece of paper. And I say that because of crypto. Crypto has become so big, and it started out with a way to stick it to the man. We're going to take over the banks. The banks are going away, and that's really what Bitcoin was all about. And at the end of the day, it almost, if you look at it now, it's almost like that same system is being built on crypto now. That you can get loans and
Yeah.
everything else, and
Yeah.
it is mind blowing.
The problem with yeah, the problem with crypto is, where is it? You know, I always intangible, and
Yep.
so to convert it into dollars, they got you. You got to go to a bank, and they say, "Where'd you get this?" And there's all the questions. What do you use the money for? Banks are now asking a lot more questions. Where did
Yep.
you get this money from, and what are you going to use it for? It's my money. Stop getting being my business. No, they're part of your business. So they want this digital currency, and that's going to be complete control. Like in China, if you don't conform, you all of a sudden don't have a job,
Yeah.
and you have no way to pay your mortgage and your car payment. Everything is, you do not want to go that route.
Yeah.
So if you kind of look back at the history, if you want to take a little stroll back, and that starts with the Rothschilds. Rothschild, it means a red shield, and that was what they used outside as a goldsmith. So you're a miner, you find some gold in a rock, you take it to them, they assay it, they say it's worth about this, and they give you a receipt. So you take that receipt because it's a lot easier than taking a chunk of gold around trying to swap it for somebody. So you take the receipt to a shipbuilder, and you want to build a ship, and they take that receipt. Great, I'll build you a ship the way you want it. So they take that receipt back to the goldsmith, and they're able to get gold for it. So they're paid. Everything's all fine. Well, what happens if the sailor brings in some gold, gets a receipt, and he's on that ship and it sinks? Well, the Rothschilds all of a sudden got wealthier, wealthier, and wealthier. So every day they became more wealthy because the receipts didn't come back. Then what they did, oh, the thing to do is watch this 1934 film. It's on YouTube, it's free to watch. It's called The House of Rothschild, and it's a very complimentary view of the story's not exactly accurate, but it shows the benevolence that we had towards the Rothschilds back in the 30s. So what Rothschild did, he loaned France money to fight England, but he said, if you win, you have to pay the debt of England to me. And he went, we'll take the money, we'll do anything. So then he went to England and said, hey, France just borrowed a whole bunch of money to fight you, and I can loan you this money to fight them, but on the condition that if you win, you have to pay their debt to me. And they went, oh, they're fighting us. Oh, you know, oh, yes, we will accept that. So then the Battle of Waterloo happened, and England won. So the spy for Rothschild was able to go through the checkpoints and got to Rothschild that night and said, basically, England won, France lost. So the next day, what did Rothschild do? He sold British bonds. He was selling all of his British bonds. People, it's like that movie Trading Places with Eddie Murphy. And
Yep.
so they're selling orange juice. They're selling, sell to get the price down. And then that's when he bought up all of those British bonds for pennies that were worth millions. And at the same time, he was selling his French bonds, which were worthless, to all the suckers who thought that France won because he had the inside knowledge. So there are traders, trading companies that hooked up a fiber link between their two offices, and they're able to get 1 second, or even a microsecond ahead of everybody else, and they're completely huge billionaires because of that one technical speed. So once you have the knowledge, you're ahead of the game. So that's what even Lincoln went to Rothschild and he said, 34%, forget it. We're going to make our own currency. And that's what you do. And Benjamin Franklin was asked in Paris, why are you so successful? And he explained, what we have is script. The script is modulated by the amount of demand. If there's bigger demand, we make more script. If there's less demand, we don't make more script, and we don't hand it out freely. We just are in exchange, but we make it look pretty. We want it to look like artwork, so people will buy our artwork for $1, even when it costs us a penny to make. And that's how we do an exchange. There's no interest. So if you go to Wikipedia, I know Wikipedia, but if you look under Federal Reserve, page 6, you got to keep scrolling. Down there, it says that we pay 6% every dollar, every issuance of the Federal Reserve note. We have to pay 6% annual fee on that. And how we pay that is through more Federal Reserve notes. So they got us tied in to paying off this debt with more debt. So we have to eliminate that and stop this payment of 6%. So when a millionaire lights a cigar with $100 bill, we're paying 6% forever. That's why the Treasury has that department where they look at all that burnt money and try to figure out how much of a percentage is still valuable. Because if that dollar bill is only in half, we have to pay 6% on that 50 cents for the rest of our lives. So this is where the Rothschilds are the largest, wealthiest family. And you do some research now, you can't find it. It's now washed of the internet. Back when I was a kid growing up, I read Rich and the Super Rich and explained how the Rothschilds are the wealthiest family. They are way above everybody else.
Yeah, they
so
are.
when you're doing crypto, you're doing this banking, you're actually going against the deep state, which is the Rothschilds. So a little bit of conspiracy theory for you,
Yep.
but all you do is watch that movie and know your history. And so there you go. The Rothschilds are the ones in control. And that's why we go to war with Syria and North Korea. And before that, if they weren't part of the Federal Reserve, like Iran or with Baghdad and Iraq, that's who we go to war with, because every war now is a banker's war.
Oh, wow. I never even thought about that. Well, Tommy, I'm going to bring you forward and give you the opportunity to tell everybody where they can find you and what the your links and ats and all that stuff. And I will also make sure that all of them that you mentioned will get put into the bio and the little area for everybody to click and make it easy for them, so they ain't got to go searching for it.
It's very simple. Just Tommy A. Kilpatrick on Facebook, and you'll find me very easily that way. Send me a message. Don't friend me. Just send me a message, because I don't know who you are. I have to go back and forth. Do I know you? And stuff, kind of questions. And the other one, I have an email, so I'd be happy to give you a free 15-minute consultation. I have no interest in making money from you. I just want to give you some information. But what I'm really looking for is that company that has a huge amount of bank issued alleged credit card debt, where I can find them $100,000 or something like that. And they have their attorney and all that kind of stuff. So that would be my best client, that if you could refer somebody to me like that, that'd be great. But in the meantime, have a free 15-minute conversation with me, and I'll send you my book for free, and I'll help you whatever I can to take the stress off your life. And it's not a debt. It was never a debt in the first place. So there's nothing immoral, nothing illegal. What we're doing something that you need to live your life without this over your head. So once you know what it is, if you want to go back and get a credit card, go right ahead. So thanks so much.
All right. Well, folks, y'all heard it here, and I think a whole lot of people are going to be looking at their wallets a little bit different here in a few minutes. So I appreciate y'all listening. Y'all take care. Be safe. Don't let the day kick its ass.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.